Hey everybody, John here. Welcome to my ultimate jungle boot review. It's almost, 5 years ago I came up with the idea of wanting to do this, and then it's taken me 4 years to collect the pair of boots behind me and wear them, and then come up with ideas as far as where they stood and in what category. I'm not going to cut them in half. I'm not going to do weird things to show you what they're made of or how they are constructed. There are other videos for that. But what we are going to talk about is quality of materials as far as how they feel on my foot. So let's review for a minute. In my opinion, there's three different kinds of jungle boots. There's what I would call the costume jungle boots. And those are being made today to look exactly like they would have been issued to somebody in Vietnam. So they've got all the markings and all that sort of stuff to look like a pair of Vietnam jungle boots. Those boots are made by SM Wholesale or What Price Glory. And you can get a pair of those for anywhere from 115 to 180 bucks. But in all honesty, if you're going to spend that kind of money, why not get a real pair of boots, for one, or two, go on eBay or Poshmark or something like that and find a pair of unissued, original OEM GI issued jungle boots from Vietnam that are, 60 years old. You can find them. You're going to pay a premium, but they're out there. So that's the first category, the costume boots. We're not going to discuss those. The second category is what I would call the junk boots. Those are the boots for the Boy Scout or the guy who is a scout leader, or maybe you're in ROTC or something where you need a pair of boots, but you don't want to make an investment necessarily outside of your comfort range. The manufacturers who come to mind are Fox, who's got a product out there for 30 bucks, and Rothco, who's got a pair of boots out there for 45 bucks. I had a pair of Rothkos way back when, and they disintegrated on me pretty quickly. So, brings us to the boots behind me. These boots were made by the manufacturers who made the boots that went to Vietnam. So in some instances, those boots are still being made on the same hardware in the same factories, and in some instances they're not. We'll go over that in a minute. But I want to tell you, if you take the time to get a pair of boots that fit, and if you take care of the leather, I'm convinced that these boots will last you the rest of your life. And the reason I say that is because this is the pair of boots Uncle Sam issued to me in 1988. I still wear them. There's great condition. There's some wear on the sole because I wear them all over the place. But 1988, they're holding up like champs. What more can I say? Now, those are RO Search that were issued to me. You can find those on eBay for about 120 bucks new. But I got to tell you, they're not being made anymore, so you got to worry about stuff like dry rot and things like that. But you can find a pair of those. RO Search sold out to a company called Welco. And Welco, you can find a pair of those boots on eBay for about 75 bucks. And those will be the boots without the speed laces, the old, basically the old style jungle boot with the Panama sole. So if you're a purist, maybe that's what you're looking for. Now, Welco apparently got bought out by Altima. And those are the boots over here to my left. Now, I got three pair of Altima boots. Let's talk about the boots in which I received them. This is, again, the notes. This is the PX 10.5. Goes for about 190 bucks. It's mostly nylon. It's got a padded collar. It's a good boot. I like this boot. If you look at the leather, I've worn this boot pretty heavily, and it broke in really well. It didn't take really any break-in period. It just went on my foot, and you know, put it in drive and went. Life was good. Now, I got to tell you that because this is like quarter of nylon, it doesn't breathe that well. And this strap here is a little wider than on the other boots. So at times that actually got to me. But still, I really like this boot. And you can see that by how much I've worn it. This boot is a little heavier. It's got the steel shank, but it rides a little cooler, if you will, because the upper is lighter. Okay, this again is the Altima PX 10.5, and it goes for about 190 bucks. Now the next pair I received are the Altima PX5. I'm sorry, PX 10.5 Pros. These are the Pro models, and they tout these as being slightly lighter, and they are actually. If you wear these all day, you won't feel as beat as if you're driving a pair of the heavier boots. And I believe the reason is because they did away with supposedly the steel shank, and I think they went to a composition shank. I'm not sure of that. Like I said, I'm not going to cut my boots in half and find out, but my understanding is that something has changed in there, and that is critical to me out here, because out here, let me see if I can find one. No, and I'm not going to go looking too hard, but out here we have mesquite. Excuse me, my nose is running a little. We have mesquite with thorns that long. And when you step on one, it's like getting 240 volts straight to your brain. It's life-changing. I stepped on one about a month ago in my tennis shoes. It's awful. So these boots might have thwarted that, but without the steel plate, it's again a risk. Now these boots, they ride a little hot. And the reason they do is because the uppers are black. So if you can be standing around baking in the sun all day, this will be a hot boot to have. Now, this boot is, I found it on Amazon for 120 bucks. It's my belief that Altima is getting out of the jungle boot business, and so they may be dumping some of their boots. That may be why there's a difference in price. This is a nice boot nonetheless. Now, I had to go really hard and dig around, and it took me a year to find the Altima PX series boots. The PX predate the WX. And, I'm sorry, reverse that. The WX boots are the ones that I had a hell of a time finding. Those are the first issue. They predate the PX boots. Makes sense? Either way, just roll it. These boots are the WX boots. They are more in line with what was issued in Vietnam. And this is, as I said, this is the older style. You will have a hell of a time finding these brand new. I did. I went online almost every night for a year looking for these. And I was able to pick these up for 50 bucks. And that's why I'm not wearing them that much. Because to me, these are slightly collector's items because they're not being made. And I like them. They're more in tune with what I envision a jungle boot being. Okay. So, let me put those there. Say goodbye to that box. The next pair we'll talk about are these Bellevilles. These are the Belleville Jungle Boots. They're still being made. They are sort of a hybrid between the Altimas because they get the wider strap, and they've got, I guess this is canvas. I can see through it. No, I don't know. I get the feeling like this is that quarter and nylon stuff. And that's really important to me. And we'll discuss that in a little bit when we talk about another pair. But these are speed laces. This is a really good boot. This boot, you can get into a pair of these boots for about $132. So, again, this is a really good boot. It fits really well straight out of the box. No break-in period. Comfortable to your foot if you take the time, again, to ensure that you get the right size. Now, one thing I do with all my boots is I upgrade to a longer pair of Kevlar shoelaces so that I can go around my ankle once for a little additional stability. I really like this boot. However, I've got a problem with it. And that problem is inside. It says made in China. Now the Altimas to my left, they're all made in the Philippines. And I was on the fence about those. This made in China boot, I have somewhat of an issue with it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really like it, but if I'm going to be out there in a situation or in a position where I am representing either the flag or a company or something, and I am in uniform, and by that I mean maybe you're a cop, maybe you're SWAT, maybe you're a sheriff, maybe you're in a unit that allows you to wear jungle boots, you're in a special ops unit or something, I have trouble with the made in China thing. If you don't care, Bob's your uncle. But to me, these are my around the house boots, if you will. I love them. They're really comfortable. But for economic reasons, they've gone offshore. Which leads us to our last boot. And that is the McRae. The McRae is still being made in North Carolina on the original equipment that it was being made on in the 60s. So to say these are original Vietnam issue jungle boots may not be far from the truth. It's made with the same equipment as I said. Apparently what they do is they heat the sole and bond the two, the upper and the sole together in a vulcanizing process. It's something that you can watch online. I'm not too familiar with it, but it really makes for a nice boot. Again, this pair of boots, right out of the box, if you take the time, as I said in my previous video, to make sure that you get the right size boot, they fit like ballet slippers. I love these boots. These are the most comfortable pair of shoes I've ever put on my feet. And in my almost 60 years, I've had a lot of dress shoes and a lot of goofy sneakers and all kinds of weird stuff on my feet. And I love these. They fit so well. Now, one of the nice things about these is they've gotten back to a slightly narrow ankle strap. And to me, that's important because of the cooling factor. And we'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing that McRae did was they put padding right here and reinforced this area right here. Because if you're going to have trouble with sizing of your boot, it will be right there. Because you're going to have trouble sliding your foot in. And if they don't have good quality control and stuff, you will have trouble actually making that curve with your foot. Even though the boot says it should fit your foot and will when you put it on, that's going to be where you're going to have trouble. No trouble here with the McRaes. Now, it's an all canvas upper, and that is really important to me. And I'll tell you why. And this is something that you may not have thought of or you may not know. In the desert here in the Southwest, we have a cooling system that is referred to as swamp coolers. And that's where you take water and run it over a permeable membrane with a fan. And there's a reaction there that the water gives off or takes up the heat through evaporation. And it provides a cooling effect. It's more science than you probably need to know, but I will tell you this. If you take this boot and you wear a wool sock and you are in a hot environment, if you put water on the upper, just the upper, if you put water on the canvas upper, the process of evaporation will provide a much appreciated and noticeably different cooling effect. It's makes these boots a real pleasure to wear in a hot, nasty environment. I mean, as I said, I love all my boots. I've got probably more than I need, but it's either this pair of McRae's that I love, or the pair of Ultimas that basically went off the other side of the display back there. Anyway, that's all I've got. As I said, this video is 4 years in the making, so I hope you took time to watch through the whole bit. Now, I will say this. A pair of boots of this nature is not a cheap investment, but it is a lifetime investment. Remember that. So, shop around. It is critical to get a pair that fits. So don't be in a rush. Take time, research, look around, try them on, and there you go. Now, if you have any questions about any of these boots, feel free to write. I will answer your questions as easily and best as I can, or I will point you towards somebody at the factory who I think can answer your questions. Anyway, that's it. John, out.